You're now watching SMB Across Borders, where we take a look at what is happening away from the borders of Uganda, and we look at how business is thriving or faring in different parts of the world. We kick-started with what is happening in West Africa, which is facing its worst food crisis in a decade, according to organizations around there. 11 major international organizations are sending alert when West African countries are being hit by the worst food crisis in the decade. 27 million people are going hungry, and according to humanitarian groups, 11 million more are at risk of nothing is done by this June. This is 40% more than the number they had last year the same time, and the same period this is 4 times more than the number they used to see in 10 years ago, according to Asalama Dawalaki CD, who is an Oxfam Regional Director for West and Central Africa. So this is why they wanted to call on donors' attention to government, as well as at knowing that there are so many other crises there that are going to build on crises to deserve more of other diverse economic struggles. Their report also says that drought and worsening floods have reduced the food sources, as well as regional conflicts, and the wars in Ukraine try to escalate. 6 out of the 12 countries where Oxfam operates in West Africa import their wheat from Ukraine or Russia. And because of the crisis in Ukraine, this is no more possible. And if they cannot import wheat, that means that it is creating shortage in food available in the countries, and therefore increasing prices and making it very difficult for people to afford food. Asalama Dawalaki CD there was explaining. And as we conclude on this particular one, this appeal was made just before a virtual conference on food and nutrition crisis in Sahel and Lake Chad between the European Union and Sahel and West African Club and the Global Network Against Food Crisis. Now, not only countries are battling with commodity prices that are increasing, but now we see West Africa has got food crisis as well, and this is being attributed to their major importer or importation on wheat, which again is gotten from either Russia or Ukraine, and we see that not happening. What is going to happen thereafter? We pray for people in West Africa to make sure this is mitigated earlier.
And right now, let's stick to the SMB Across Borders, as this time around we head to the island country of Madagascar, as Madagascar freezes the price of essential products. Now you can still see a lot is happening on the African continent in regards to prices of commodities. Now this time around, in response to the soaring prices of certain commodities, the Malagasy government has now frozen the prices of several essential products such as sugar, flour, rice, oil, gas and cement. The products, mostly imported, will now be available at lower rates in order to curb the price hike. The COVID crisis and now the war in Ukraine pose great difficulties to transit workers. The prices of fuel, but also of basic necessities, are soaring on the stock markets. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations estimates that this inflation is only just beginning, because there was an estimation of the African countries to feel a pinch this very year. Now they are saying that this inflation is just beginning, so that means it's still here and for a long time. It believes that the soaring energy costs are therefore maritime freight costs, which will cause the cost of food products to soar, and vulnerable countries which depend on exports and imports, such as Madagascar, are threatened with unprecedented food crisis. So you can see
when you're highlighting it's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
It
Quite
tends
scary
to worry and scare if we are still also reporting and crying out loud for the sake of the prices that are increasing. And now this should relate to you or stick in your mind that, hey, it's not just happening in Uganda, but countries are crying. Madagascar, we have got West Africa as well. So generally the whole of Africa is being affected in regards to this this inflation that is happening around. There is as well as price fluctuations, because prices are tending to increase at certain point while others just drop. And you realize that essential ones are the most increasing in regards to what you need every day. You need soap, at least to wash your hands every day. You need to bathe with it. You need sugar. But again, they're optional at some point. Do you agree or disagree with me? You can tend to
soap is
just
not
go
optional.
without.
Sugar is health-wise optional. Why?
Are you
Because,
telling me soap is not optional?
No, soap is not optional. It's a mandatory. Should I say, really essential for someone to have it?
And if you can't afford it,
And,
then you can't afford it. You can do
well,
without it.
Yes, you may do without it. That is because you can't afford it. But still, when you have the money to afford it, you will have to go for it.
And now we're
unlike
speaking
sugar,
about
sugar is
in a
something you can live
crisis
without.
like this. In a crisis like this where we are seeing maybe something that cannot is a go-getter for every day is about fuel. Because you need to now plan if
Yeah.
you're driving your own car, the consumption at which you're going to, be consuming.
And the mere fact that fuel is having a very huge, let's say, it's actually one of the key contributors in the value chain, from production till the final consumer. It is something that has become even more essential now in a generation of ours than the basic needs that we used to look at.
And just supplementing on what you're telling us, without fuel, you can imagine there's not going to be deliveries at the
Very
end
true.
of the day. How many people are going to work delivering things or delivering
Very few.
services or commodities? That means I need transportation from my home to work, to come to work, to deliver a service. That means without fuel of either the car or a border, unless a bicycle really, because it's a bicycle.
And petrol is already shooting up to 5,200 currently.
So you
in
can
some
imagine
places.
deliveries, someone who is going to buy food from the market to put it to the restaurant need fuel for transportation. It's contributing to transportation as well as a well-being of, most people. So I don't want to say it's going to be survival for the fittest this time, but let us wait what comes out from the leaders, because at the end of the day, even when crises are happening, we still believe, or I still believe, that leaders have got capacity and a role to decide what they want for their economies.
Well,
And as
very
we
true.
continue with the SMB across borders, we head to Tanzania, where it is looking forward to host the IMF-led talks on cryptocurrencies. Now, Tanzania's top financial sector officials on Tuesday called for a clear global consensus on central bank digital currencies and crypto assets as the country continues to compete and complete the direction to make on the rapidly evolving prospects. Finance and Planning Minister Mwigulu Nchemba told a regional conference hosted by the Bank of Tanzania and the International Monetary Fund that both topics needed more thorough discussion before the country could make any commitments, a view that was echoed by Bank of Tanzania Governor Professor Florence Luoga. And also, the virtual conversion, which continued last week, was called specifically for Anglophone countries in sub-Saharan Africa to gain more insight on such as financial inclusion and integration, digital and cybersecurity risks, illegal issues, and interoperability in relations to CBDC and cryptocurrency dealings are concerned. Another similar conference is planned later this year for sub-Saharan Africa's Francophone countries. According to Dr. Nchemba, the Bank of Tanzania is finalizing actually preparations for a business case for establishment of CBDC in Tanzania and evaluation of crypto assets after recording significant progress. Banks in Tanzania are developing solutions to integrate informal small business and savings groups to formal banking systems through digital platforms. These innovators will demand reforms in legal institutional structure to enable requisite governance, the minister was highlighting. And as we conclude on this particular story, data provided by Funds and China Analysis United indicates that Kenya and Tanzania are among selected countries in sub-Saharan Africa that have registered rapid adoption of crypto assets. Other countries are Nigeria, South Africa, and Ghana. Now we're speaking about innovations in Africa, how they are taking on a lead as we experience, as we all know that we are as well anticipating, we are advocating for a cashless economy, we are advocating for digitalization, but how are African countries adopting to this one? Nigeria became the very first African nation to formally launch a CBDC, that is the crypto currency bank. Bank progress is there when it introduced the Naira in October 2021. Ghana and South Africa are at the various stages, and Kenya recently issued a white paper for the planned CBDC, that is in regard to the central bank digital currencies. How about Uganda? We're speaking about, you know, digital services, and one of the highlights that cannot be left out in regards to these digital currencies are cryptos. And you know, Uganda tends to be very silent on cryptos. Cryptos have got Bitcoin in there. There is a lot with that. It comes with a lot of risks again.
Of late, I've seen a number of young people trading NFTs. Now, most of them are actually doing it to see that by the time the government picks up from the cryptocurrencies, they already have the idea and they already know how to trade.
Yes, they are just doing it individually from organizational basis, that it's bringing out a plan to embrace digital currencies like cryptocurrency, but the government is not in support yet of it. And we're seeing at some point revolutions can tell. A country like Ukraine now, it legalized it very well, that it is the only hope whereby it's going to boost or recover its property and economic recovery by trade through cryptocurrency. But let us wait on what more is going to be coming out from all these integrations. You never know, all these lessons are being learnt.
All right. Now let's head to Rwanda, as the real estate sector in Uganda is growing here. Well, that in Rwanda and the manufacturing is leading in Rwanda's post-COVID recovery. And according to reports coming in from their investments in construction, real estate and manufacturing sectors are leading the path to economic recovery in Rwanda as the country seeks to reverse the negative effects of the coronavirus pandemic. The country recorded investments worth $3.7 billion in 2021, which is up from $1.3 billion in 2020. The three sectors contributed up to 72% of all investments registered, with construction accounting to 31%, real estate accounting to 26%, and manufacturing, including agro-processing, contributing 15%. And according to Rwanda Development Board, the RDB numbers were released this week. As the pandemic took hold in the country from early 2020, many large and small investors injected their capital into construction, with most of these particularly having investments in Kigali, leaving the city with a number of new commercial buildings, real estate and office buildings. When the country went into lockdowns to slow the spread of COVID-19 and business was rendered inactive, many of the people who own commercial buildings used this particular time to renovate, expand or remodel their buildings. The majority used their savings, while others took loans to invest in these developments, which has not only created jobs but also kept the economy afloat as money exchanged hands in purchasing construction materials, as many of which are sourced locally. Some of the biggest investments registered in 2021 include $237.9 million by Ultimate Developers Limited for the development of Vision City Phase 2. And then there is a $145.9 million investment by Rwanda Ultimate Golf Course Limited into the Kigali Golf Resort and Villa project. So we've seen a $20.7 million powdered milk project, as well as a $22.5 million by Global Electric and Vehicle Limited to manufacture electric vehicles, according to the RDB. Other sectors that attracted significant investment are financial and insurance services, agriculture, accommodation and food services, energy, health, and ICT, which point to how attractive the Rwandan economy remained to investors despite the virus-induced setbacks. And in what is regarded as the highest investment registration to date, these new investment projects are expected to create 48,669 jobs, representing a 97% increase from that in 2020. Government has a target of creating 214,000 new jobs from investment and other employment sources every year. That is for the people of Rwanda.
Very well, good luck for them. Their real sector is at least giving, you know, a highlight that their the economic recovery is this is generating hope for their economic recovery. But when you look back around here, the real sector, it's coming to be expensive for most of the people. We're speaking about rentals, if we're speaking about construction, because according to people I was interacting with in real sector, they're highlighting materials now sold expensively, and even the labor now, because everyone tends now to hike their price. Everyone tends to, you know, rise their value, and that is a good thing, but it depends in what situations do you actually add value on yourself.
I think they got to realize with the real estate sector is that every other day, every other year that comes out, people are looking for these houses. They do know that. So for the, like you say, it goes back to even the producers, or just like the producers who hold. So I think even the landlords tend to actually try to use an opportunity where most of the tenants are actually looking for houses and all that. And the mere fact that now the real estate sector back then in Uganda was more informal, with a lot of brokers. Now this time around you can still actually go to an office, a well-established office, looking for a rental. And they have more of, at least the middlemen are now more professional and clearly giving you a chance
Even
to have
the
the
use
best
of digital
result.
platforms has made it very easy at some point,
Not
but
when
with
you're using,
fraud.
there's some app people say is full of
Ange
fraud.
banfedako.
You know, these things are not easy.
When you're looking for land, when you're looking for where to settle from, it is sometimes tricky if you especially not experienced at some point. You land onto brokers that lost it. They're there to just make losses for everyone. You were mentioning, you mentioned something that brought a smile on my face. I was remembering and recalling when I was...
when they...
not about fraud. The real sector growth. And it took me back when I was schooling, and I used to see, you know, people settling in different areas. And I was getting worried. Just like you said, every day, you said every day there is new demand, new constructions
for the real
houses,
estate, exactly.
of rentals. So when I was schooling, I remember in the university, I used to worry a lot. I'm like, but where am I going to be staying?
You're looking at everyone is occupying the spaces that you would think of. But surprisingly,
everyone is taking on spaces, and you're passing by some areas and like, but I want to be here.
You know, they
the next time you find those apartments are done and they're taken on, and you're worried. Do not be. This is a diverse style of life and a diverse, you know, development that is never going to get satisfied. I don't think there is going to be a time where people have got nowhere to sleep or reside. But away from that, have you even ever encountered it where you're on Twitter and you've already tweeted something, or you've made a tweet, you want to edit it, you can't. You've made errors, you cannot do that. Hope is coming your
You're
way.
supposed to either delete
You just
or
delete
make
it.
a correction in your next tweet or a quote retweet.
But there are chances that that correction might not be seen by many of your followers, and they will be judging you from your first comment. That remains a very big challenge. And now Twitter has confirmed that it is working on an edit button around there. Twitter has confirmed they're working on an editing button that would allow users to change tweets after they have been posted. And also, this comes after a new board member, Tesla boss, that is Elon Musk, who asked his followers in a Twitter poll whether they wanted feature Many users have long called for an edit button, but their concerns are about now to be executed. Twitter said it would start testing the idea in the coming months. The social media firm's communications team tweeted, "Now that everyone is asking, yes, we've been working on an edit feature since last year. And now they will not, they got the idea from Paul, and they were adding that there. They are kicking off the testing within a Twitter Blue at Twitter Blue Labs in the coming months to learn what and how it works. What does that and what does it do possible? Users of Twitter Blue and platform subscription service get early access to features it is testing, and an edit function a user could that could be able to fix types and errors, and also tweets without losing any replies, retweets, or likes as it's already gained. Jay Salvan, who is also a company's vice president consumer product, highlighted that most requested Twitter features for many years, a thread on Tuesday he tagged there, will also be considered and worked on. However, the company was exploring how to build future and features in a safe manner without things like limits, controls, and transparency about what has been edited. Edits could be misused to alter the record of public conversations, he said, and protecting integrity of public conversation is their top priority when they approach their kind of work. And to conclude on this one, during the talk in 2018, former Twitter boss Jack Dorsey said the firm was probably never adding features amid concerns about transparency. But rival social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, already allow users to edit or re-edit their posts, and Twitter's new boss, Parag Agrawal, appears open to the idea as well. Now we're going to be starting on to realize that Twitter at least is giving hopes to edit tweets after being tweeted around there. And after disclosing that he owed around a 9.2% stake in Twitter, he made him a firm as the biggest stakeholder. And the announcement that was made earlier on last week, he was appointed to Twitter's board. We are speaking about Elon Musk. The poll has already attracted over 4 million votes. Twitter initially said it was exploring an edit button on 1st April, but widely interpreted as April Fool's joke. But this was not a joke. Though they made that attempt on the Fool's Day, that was 1st April, but the boss is coming out to say that was not a joke, though they made that comment there. So hopes are coming. You're going to be editing back or re-editing back as you posted your particular tweet.
Oh, and also Twitter still making headlines with the fact that Elon Musk joining Twitter as the biggest shareholder on that particular app. So clearly shows you where Twitter is heading. Well, besides that, now let's look at the aviation sector, as the British Airways has cancelled 4 flights at the Heathrow Airport due to COVID-related absences on top of 74 services previously withdrawn. The airline had already signaled its intention to cancel most of the flights following a decision to reduce its schedule until the end of May. But the recent high levels of staff absence due to COVID have made further flights being called off ahead of Easter. EasyJet cancelled about 30 flights at Gatwick Airport on Wednesday, as thousands of holiday makers have seen their Easter getaways, the first holiday since the end of COVID travel restriction, delayed or cancelled because airlines and airports do not have enough staff to meet the recovery in demand. The British Airways withdrew 6 flights at the last minute on Tuesday as a result of COVID absences. And on Monday, it cancelled scheduled 62 flights, but 12 of them were grounded at the last minute. COVID-related absences have compounded staff shortages at airports and airlines, and the industry is struggling to recruit staff after thousands of jobs were lost and many workers left during the pandemic. EasyJet has said its staff absences were double their normal levels due to COVID-19. As we look at the situation, the airline said the main routes affected by the cancellations were Amsterdam, Krakow, Bologna, and Berlin in Germany. Now, the problems, Bologna is in Italy. Now, the staff shortages have led to passengers having to face long delays at different security and check-in points at some of the airports, with these particular travelers complaining of chaos. Now, these problems at the Manchester airport led to Karen Smart, the airport's managing director, announcing on Tuesday that she would stand down in there as a managing director of the airport. It came after the Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham said police and fire and rescue service staff could be drafted in to help tackle the chaos at the airport. Now, there are problems that are actually expected to continue, as the former Monarch Airlines boss Tim Jeans, who is now director of Cornwall Airport, UK, told the BBC's Today program levels of disruption had varied across the British Airways and the entire British country.
You can imagine when crises are happening, or crises is happening in different sectors, people tend to just resign. I call it defeat.
Non-defeat, it becomes quite hard because the entire
Then
pressure is going to you.
quit?
No, I believe quitting has never been the solution, but there is a time when you feel like it's right for you to quit, when you realize the next few weeks or few
Disaster
months
is
is
coming
going to
your
be
way.
disaster. Everyone is going to look at you. You've seen a situation where even with Uganda Airlines, the government had to suspend. After suspending, they had to bring on new people at the end of the day. So I believe in most of the organization, once you've failed to meet the obligations after all the chances they've given you,
I just hope,
eliminate you, get
I
someone
just
else.
want you to quit when you have accomplished something. Do not leave problems behind for someone else
Maybe
to
it
just
has
come
become
and
really hard at the time and they feel it is better that way.
let us return with business tips and quotes for your inspirational day.